All right, welcome to the Landmark Sports Show with Anthony and John. We'll be broadcasting every Tuesday covering sports topics, including the UFC, MLB, NFL, NBA, and today we'll be leading off with Anthony discussing UFC 207. Over to you, Ant.
Thanks, John. UFC 207 was a huge success. It pretty much sold out. It sold out in the T-Mobile Arena, with the largest number of 20,000 at the gate. Now, our first fight that I saw was T.J. Dillashaw versus John Lineker in a three-round bantamweight fight, with T.J. Dillashaw beating John Lineker by unanimous decision, all three judges scoring it 30-26. T.J. Dillashaw looked really good because what he did was he would stand a little bit, but then as John Lineker would try to hit, he would take him down every time, and John couldn't really defend the takedowns. TJ landed 5 out of 6 takedowns, which is huge for him, and this definitely is a huge win for him. I think this definitely gives him a title rematch. I say title rematch because earlier this year, last year, TJ Dillashaw defended the bantamweight title against then UFC bantamweight champion Dominick Cruz, where Cruz won by a split decision. Some people thought TJ won the fight. I thought Dominic won, but anyway, yeah, I think TJ definitely deserves a rematch.
And speaking of Dominick Cruz, can you tell us about the Dominick Cruz-Cody No Love fight?
Oh, of course. Dominick Cruz versus Cody No Love Garbrandt fight was an absolutely amazing fight. Cody Garbrandt, he shocked the world when he defeated Dominick Cruz by a unanimous decision to win the UFC Bantamweight Championship of the world. Cody Garbrandt, everybody thought, and me, myself, we all thought that Cody was going to come in aggressive. We thought he was going to try to hit Cruz with a lot of shots, but that actually wasn't the case. Instead, it was the other way around. Cruz would try to hit Garbrandt, and Garbrandt would have excellent head movement, with Cody actually dropping Cruz quite a few times, which caused Cruz to drop his bantamweight championship. And after Cody won the belt, he then gave the UFC championship to a kid who really inspired him, because that kid has had cancer for a very long time. And after the fight, Cody dedicated that win to the kid by giving him the belt.
That's a really nice story.
Yeah.
What about the main event now? Let's go to the Rousey-Nunez fight. What were your thoughts on that?
It was everything that I thought it would be. I mean, I definitely picked Amanda Nunes to beat Ronda Rousey. I did not see it ending in 48 seconds. Because Ronda Rousey, she tried coming in and tried standing with Nunes, which you can't do that, because if you do, Nunes is going to rip your head off. So what ended up happening was Amanda Nunes ended up landing some big shots on Rousey. Couldn't quite drop her, but instead dropped her to a knee, and that ended the fight, which ended in 48 seconds of the very first round by TKO. I think Herb Dean definitely made the right call to stop the fight.
Yeah, I saw some highlights as well over the weekend, and I thought it was the right decision to stop the fight as well, because it really seemed like Rousey was putting herself in a dangerous situation there with the hits she was taking. And a lot of people are saying that Rousey should retire, that she's done. I kind of think that she should take another shot at getting a fight and winning and going out on top. What do you think?
I agree. I think Ronda Rousey is still very young. I think she can still fight. It's just the thing is, she is with a terrible camp. She's with a terrible coach. I can't exactly remember his name, but all he did was train Ronda to stand up, like no takedowns, no clinch. And that's the thing too. When you're going up against a female like Amanda Nunes, who is clearly very well on striking, you have to learn how to try to take her down and use jiu-jitsu. Because when you look at this,
Hey, keep on.
yeah, because when you look at this, when Miesha Tate, the former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion, fought Amanda Nunes at UFC 200, Miesha was playing it smart in the beginning, where she got a takedown on Amanda Nunes, but Nunes, this is the amazing thing about her. too. She knows how to get right back up to her feet, and then she knows how to finish the fight. Because in the Miesha Tate fight, she dropped Tate and then got the rear naked choke and finished her at 3 minutes and 20-something seconds of the very first round.
Yeah, it seemed to me like Rousey really only had that one move, and once Nunez kind of took that away from her, she had nowhere else to turn.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing with Rousey too, because as I remember, when she fought like Miesha Tate, and I think when she fought Kat Zingano, she used her clinch work to finish those fights. She finished Miesha Tate in the third round by an armbar, and then when she fought Kat Zingano, she finished in 16 seconds by landing huge ground and pound shots on her to finish the fight after she got her down.
Absolutely. All right, let's shift gears here a little bit and let's kick it over to the NFL. So we have the wild card weekend coming up. We just finished out the regular season, week 17. It was a very exciting regular season, and Ant and I are really looking forward to these playoffs. So we're going to kind of go game by game. We're going to give a little bit of a take and make a prediction, and then if you check back next week, you could see how our prediction played out. So first, we're going to go right to the 4 o'clock game on Saturday. We have the Raiders traveling to the Texans. Now, I think the Texans are going to be hungry for a victory. They were embarrassed last year in the first round by the Kansas City Chiefs. Then quarterback Brian Hoyer threw, I believe it was 4 interceptions, and it was a mess. And Coach O'Brien, there's been rumors that his job might be in jeopardy. I think he's going to have the guys up. The quarterback situation is in flux, but they're at home, and I think their defense is going to carry them. I expect the Texans to win in a close one, a low-scoring game, 16-14. What about you, Ant?
Yeah, I see where you're going. I mean, when you look at this, but shifting gears now with the Oakland Raiders, look at the amazing season that they've had. They finished their season 12-4. They came close to winning the AFC. They came close to winning the division title, but unfortunately, their quarterback Derek Carr, who has been their main reason that they were on this hot streak, broke his leg, I believe, in week 15, and that caused him to miss the rest of the year, and he's going to miss the postseason. So I think that could play a key factor into this game, but I think because the Houston Texans haven't been like that much of a consistent winning team, and because they don't have a really great quarterback, I'm picking Oakland to win in a very close game, 20-17.
Nice. That could put Coach Bill O'Brien directly on the hot seat if he loses this game.
Yeah, exactly.
So moving on to Lions at Seahawks, the premier Saturday night game. Ant, what's your take on that game?
Oh man, I think that's gonna be an interesting game, because when you look at this, the Lions and the Seahawks have a lot in common from this season, because both teams haven't been the most consistent winning teams. Especially the Seahawks, man. I mean, I don't know what happened to them. Like, they were on this hot streak at the beginning, and then they flopped, like they lost to the Buccaneers, which was an absolute blowout. And they haven't, ever since then, they haven't been a really great team. Now, when you look at Detroit, they came off a very close loss against Green Bay last week to see who would win the division title, to see who would face the New York Giants. And when you look at this, Matthew Stafford, he has taken over the Detroit Lions, basically becoming their captain, because ever since Calvin Johnson retired, Matthew Stafford has really taken that team to high levels. I think that's going to play a factor. And however, when you look at this, Detroit is not that great this year, and they're playing in Seattle, so I'm actually going with Seattle. I think they're going to get the job done, 30-24.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Seattle seems to be in a bit of a funk this year. Ultimately, I think it comes down to what you said, though. They're playing in Seattle. Seattle's always tough in Seattle. They're playoff tested. They've been there before. They have a Super Bowl in the last few years. I agree with you. I think Matthew Stafford could have a little magic up his sleeve, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think he's taken the next step this year and becoming a real premier quarterback, a real team leader, as you said, Ant. But I just don't think it's going to be quite enough. They're still a couple pieces away. And even though Seattle's without Earl Thomas, I think that they still can bring enough defense. I have Seattle winning 23-17. So now kicking over to the AFC, the Sunday slate of games. We have the Dolphins at the Steelers. The Dolphins, who Anthony and I were talking before, nobody thought was going to be here. Nobody picked them to make the playoffs at this time in September. But the Steelers with weapons galore. They have Antonio Brown at wide receiver, Le'Veon Bell at running back. They have Big Ben, obviously. I think there's just too much firepower there for the Dolphins to do much with. The Dolphins are missing their quarterback. You know, Matt Moore has filled in well, but I think his luck runs out this week. I have Steelers 34, Dolphins 17. What about you, Ant?
I agree with a lot of what you say. I mean, first of all, nobody expected Miami to have a winning record. Nobody expected them to have a really good year. I mean, they have shocked everybody, especially me, because when you look at this, Ryan Tannehill, he was never really a great quarterback. I thought he was just decent, but after what he did this year, I had confidence in the Dolphins. Now, however, when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, like you said, they have Antonio Brown, Big Ben. When those guys are on their game, mainly Big Ben, the Steelers are a dangerous team. I mean, look at what happened when the Steelers faced the Giants, which a lot of people thought that the New York Giants was going to win, even me. But the defense of the Steelers, the offense, they played really well. And I think that's just going to be too much for the Dolphins, considering the fact that the Dolphins have a lot of trouble sometimes with huge teams. So I'm picking the Steelers to win actually 24-3. I don't think the Dolphins have a shot, honestly.
All right, so last game, the 4 o'clock game on Sunday. A lot of people think the winner of this game could make some noise. They could potentially be a Super Bowl team. So, Ant, tell me, what do you think? Your Giants at the Packers.
Man, this is an amazing game for the Giants. I mean, the Giants have had an unbelievable year. When you look at this, Eli, he's had good numbers. Sterling Shepard, he's been unbelievable. I mean, for a rookie, nobody plays like that in their first year in the NFL. Odell Beckham Jr., he's just been the same player he's always been. He's been excellent. I think he set a new record this year. This year for over 100 yards in receiving wise, I think. And Victor Cruz, he came back this year after a year layoff, because of a torn ACL, I think.
Achilles, I believe.
Yeah.
Achilles.
Yeah. And he had one touchdown this year, and he's made some incredible catches. I mean, if it wasn't for him, the Giants wouldn't have won some of their games. And their defense has just been unbelievable. Now, when Jason Pierre-Paul got hurt earlier, a lot of people thought that would change the Giants' defense. But no, man. I think the defense has been playing better without Jason Pierre-Paul. Because when you look at this, Lance Collins, man, he's been unbelievable. I mean, he's caught many interceptions. I think he ran one of them for a touchdown. The guys just look unbelievable. Now, when you look at the Green Bay Packers, they're on a 6-game winning streak. Like, they were off starting terrible. And then Aaron Rodgers, being the great quarterback that he is, he threw some nice plays. Jordy Nelson was there as well. Green Bay, you can never count them out in the playoffs. Now, however, with the Giants' defense and their offense, I think the Giants are going to get it done 35-34. But however, there is one thing that worries me. Eli Manning, because he's made a lot of terrible plays this year that's cost the Giants sometimes. So we'll see how he does, but ultimately, I think the Giants get it done 35-34.
All right, so, I never claimed to be a Giants fan. I'm an Eagles fan, but so it's hard for me to look at this one objectively. Just as being a Giants fan, I know it's tough for you to look at it objectively. But, I believe that the Giants have had a good year. Their Odell Beckham and the wide receivers are scary against a Packers secondary that's a little bit banged up right now. Packers defense that has kind of been up and down. The Packers really have a non-existent run game at this point, running out Ty Montgomery, a wide receiver, as the primary running back. But they have Aaron Rodgers. And like you said, I think that the Packers are always a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs. As long as Aaron Rodgers is there, they're a team that can make noise. I can remember after, I believe it was like week 12, the Packers beat the Eagles, and my dad said, I bet the Packers aren't going to lose again this regular season. And he was right. As you said, they went on a 6-game win streak. They're red hot coming into the playoffs. They're playing at home. And I know you're not going to like this, Ant, but I got the Packers 31-21, advancing to move on to the next round of the playoffs.
Now, when you look at this also, I mean, the Giants, I think they have a lot of motivation coming into this game with the Packers, because when you look at this, Eli Manning and the New York Giants, every time they played Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs, the Giants have always won. Whether it was at home or whether it was at Green Bay, the Giants have always found a way to get it done. And I think that they're going to get it done again. I just think that the motivation that they have for this whole season is just going to be too much for Aaron Rodgers.
So there's our picks. So John's picks, I have the Texans, the Seahawks, the Steelers, and the Packers. Anthony's taking the Raiders, the Seahawks, the Steelers, and the Giants. So be sure when you tune in next week, you will hear how we made out, and we'll pick and prognosticate on the divisional round of the playoffs.
Yep. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to see a review of the playoffs, and what's going to happen in the divisional round, we think, be sure to tune in next Tuesday, approximately 3:30 or 3:40ish, and we'll have updates for you. Until then, thank you guys.
Thank you from the Landmark Sports Show.